Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to TDJ20, Technological Design. I'll be your instructor for the course. My name is Grayson Mitchell. Today's lesson is on design improvement and innovation, and I'm going to give you a practical example of an upgrade which constitutes innovation in technology. What I'm going to be covering today is a product which is actually a mountain bike pedal for my mountain bike, and I'm gonna just go through with you how I intend to make a little upgrade to it, an innovation idea that I had to give me a little more traction with the pedal itself. Now the problem, step one in my process, is I found that when I was riding in the rain, or I was riding with muddy shoes, or whatever the circumstance was, that I was having less friction on my pedals. I found my feet slipping around and losing my position on the pedal while I was riding. So then I decided, what can I do to improve the traction on my pedal, to just make my shoes stay where my foot wants to be while I'm riding? So I looked at some other pedal manufacturers, and I noticed that some of them had different styles of stud than what I had on this one here. If you look closely at these, there's these studs on the surface of the pedal, and the intention there is that they sort of sit in the grooves of your shoe, so your shoe stays on your pedal while you're riding and doesn't slip around. When I was going around looking at other designs, I noticed that some of them had actually a smaller diameter stud on the pedal, but for some reason they seem to be sharper and just catch the sole of your shoe a lot better. These ones are kind of smooth. They have some sort of grooved edges on them, which is supposed to provide good traction on your shoe, but I wanted to go with something that was a little bit, just a little bit more sharp for traction. So what I decided to do was, I took my digital caliper here, and I wanted to get a measurement from the top of the stud to the bottom of the stud on the inverse side, which is about 18.5 millimeters. So these studs are threaded, and the holes that they're inserted in are threaded with a matching thread, of course, but they are directly through the pedal. So each one screws in from each side and then meets in the middle. I got 18.5 millimeters from outside, top side to bottom side. So if I want to increase that a little bit, what I decided to select was a metric M4 set screw. So two of these back to back will give me 20 millimeters top to bottom. So there's a little increase there. Now, as you can see, they have a nice sharp edge on them. So this was the development of my solution. Now, first things first, what I'm going to do is clean this pedal up a little bit. A lot of dirt on it and stuff from my last ride. I don't want this dirt getting inside of the machined holes for the studs and then causing undue friction or damage to the threads. So I just have a toothbrush here. I'm just going to give it a quick little brush to remove any dirt or debris. That's a lot better already. Okay. Now what I have to do is determine what tool I need to remove these studs. Again, I'm going to go to my digital caliper here and check the diameter of the stud itself. And it's reading at 3 mils. So, what I will need is a 3 mil socket driver, which I have here. And I'm going to go ahead and start removing the studs. What I'm going to do is do one side at a time. So the insertion of the stud on the other side is going to set the depth of the new set screw that I'm installing on one side. As you can see, I'm just using my socket driver, going on top of the stud, loosening it off a little bit. Now that I have them loosened, I can just complete the removal by hand or with the assistance of this socket driver. I'm just going to go ahead and pause here while I remove the rest of these studs. Here you see the pedal with all the studs removed from one side. Now I'm going to go ahead and start inserting the new 10 mil set screws on this side. What I'm going to use is a little bit of thread lock on each one. Now what happens with thread lock is once I insert the set screw into the tapped hole here, it's probably not going to bite as much as I want. So the thread locker, what it's going to do, it's a chemical, it's going to set up and it's going to hold that set screw in place. What I have here is a 2mm Allen key that matches the head of the set screw. I'm going to go ahead again and pause the video while I complete. See, I have 3 in here now. I'm going to go ahead and finish the pedal and then I'll be back. Now that I've completed the installation of the studs on this side, I'm just going to go ahead, take a rag, and wipe off any of the excess thread locker that remains in the pedal. clean installation. Then I'll proceed to do the other side. Here we now have a completed pedal. All the studs are in. I checked. Here with a metal ruler to make sure each one is at 5 millimeters projecting out from the pedal. Everything is nice and uniform. All that's left now is for me to test it. It's the fun part. I'm going to put this back on the bike and take it for a ride. I'd like to say thanks to everyone for joining me today in my outdoor tech lab. And further in the class, you guys will have an assignment where you each get to ideate your own innovation for a piece of technology. Thanks again for joining, and I'll see you in class.